She had only one piece of bread left in the world, and she didn't hesitate to share it with a stranger. She didn't know then that the man kneeling before her wasn't just hungry, he was an angel in disguise. What happened next would change her life forever, and the city of Lagos would never forget the ripple of kindness that started with one small act. Evening was falling over the city, and the streets carried that quiet hum that comes after a long day. People were hurrying home, carrying bags, dragging tired feet, chasing the last moments of daylight. In the middle of it all, a young woman named Amara walked slowly, her slippers scraping the ground, her stomach tight from hunger. She had been without steady work for months, yet she still found ways to smile at children who ran past, at women selling roasted corn by the roadside, at old men sitting outside small shops telling stories. In her bag was a single piece of bread. Just one. That was all she could afford after stretching coins the whole day. She had planned to eat it when she reached home, to quiet her empty stomach until morning. As she walked, she kept touching the bag, almost guarding it with her hand, as though it were treasure. But then she saw him. At the corner near a half-broken fence sat a stranger. He looked worn out, his clothes faded, his face lined with dust from the road. People passed him without glancing his way. He sat there quietly, not begging, not speaking, just staring at the ground with tired eyes. Something about him made Amara slow down. For a moment, she thought of walking past. She didn't know him, she owed him nothing, and she was already fighting her own hunger. Her steps grew heavy. She took a few more paces, then stopped. Something tugged inside her chest. She turned back, her bag pressing against her ribs. The man lifted his head slightly, and their eyes met. His were not the eyes of someone asking for pity. They carried a strange calmness, almost like he knew something she did not. Amara pulled the bread from her bag. Her fingers hesitated, trembling, because this was all she had. But then she walked toward him and stretched her hand. "Take," she said softly. "Eat." The man looked at her for a long moment, almost as though he was searching her soul. Then he accepted it, his cracked lips forming a faint smile. He whispered, "Thank you." His voice was low, steady, carrying a weight she could not explain. Amara nodded and turned away quickly, before her empty stomach could remind her of what she had just given up. As she walked, she told herself it was nothing, just a small act of kindness, even though deep down, it felt like she had released something far greater than bread from her hands. What Amara didn't know was that the stranger was no ordinary man. And what she had just done was about to open a door that would change her life forever. Amara walked on, her steps slower than before, her body light and heavy at the same time. Light because she had given, heavy because her stomach was aching and her mind kept whispering what she had lost. She told herself it was only bread, just a simple piece, yet the thought of food stayed at the back of her throat, burning with hunger. Still, there was an odd peace inside her chest, as if her heart had been soothed by something unseen. The streets were growing dim now. Vendors were packing up their goods, pushing wooden carts along the roadside, calling out the last sales of the day. Smoke from roasted plantain curled into the air, carrying a smell that made her mouth water. She quickened her pace, her slippers slapping against the uneven ground, her eyes fixed ahead toward the tiny room she called home. Her room was small, no larger than the width of 2 beds, with walls that carried cracks and paint peeling like old skin. She pushed the door open and sat on the low stool in the corner. The silence pressed on her, louder than any noise outside. Normally, she would nibble her bread slowly, stretching it to last, but tonight her hands were empty. She leaned against the wall, pulled her knees close, and closed her eyes. Sleep came in broken pieces. Her stomach twisted, and her mind wandered back to the stranger's eyes, the way he looked at her when she handed him that bread. It was not just gratitude. It was like he was searching, studying her, weighing something deep inside her. The memory unsettled her, yet also comforted her. She drifted into a half-sleep, dreaming of open fields she had never seen, voices she could not place, and a light that seemed to follow her wherever she walked. By morning, she woke with weakness in her body but a strange strength in her spirit. She washed her face with water from a small bowl and wrapped her headscarf neatly, determined to find any work that day. She left her room and stepped back into the city. The streets were different in the morning, children in uniforms hurrying to school, women balancing trays of oranges on their heads, men calling passengers into old yellow buses. Amara weaved through the crowd, her eyes searching every corner for a chance. She offered to sweep, to wash, to carry loads at the market, but most turned her away. Still, she didn't stop. She believed someone would give her a chance. By midday, the sun was sharp and her energy was fading. She sat by a wooden stall, wiping her face with the edge of her wrapper. Her throat was dry, her stomach hollow. That was when she saw him again. The same stranger from last night. But he was not sitting by the fence this time. He was standing near the road, watching her. His clothes were the same, still dusty, still worn. Yet something about his presence drew her. He stepped closer, and as he did, people walking by seemed not to notice him at all, as though he was invisible to everyone except her. Amara blinked, her heart racing. She whispered, "It's you." He smiled faintly. "Yes, it is me." His voice was calm, steady, almost musical. She swallowed hard. "You followed me?" He shook his head. "I go where I must. You gave me bread when you had none to spare. Do you think such kindness disappears into the air? No, it follows you." Amara stared, unsure what to say. She wanted to ask who he really was, why she felt such weight in his words, but her tongue stayed still. He stepped closer, his eyes holding hers. "You will not walk empty forever," he said gently. "Your hands will not always be dry, and your room will not always be silent. You planted something greater than you know." Amara's skin prickled. She didn't understand his words fully, but they stirred hope inside her, hope that frightened her because it was too large for her small life. She opened her mouth to ask more, but before she could, a bus horn blared behind her. She turned for just a moment, and when she looked back, he was gone. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She stood up, scanning the street, but he was nowhere. People brushed past, calling, laughing, hurrying, as if nothing strange had happened. She pressed her hand against her chest and whispered to herself, "Who is he?" That night, as she lay in her room again, her hunger was still sharp, but it was no longer the only thing she felt. There was something else now, something larger, a sense that her life had tilted toward a new path. She closed her eyes and saw his eyes again, calm and knowing, and she knew that this was only the beginning of something she could not yet name. The next morning, the city stirred awake with its usual noise, but for Amara, everything felt heavier. She moved through the streets with tired steps, her body weak, her stomach empty, but her mind restless. The stranger's words would not leave her head. She repeated them silently as she walked, "You will not walk empty forever." The way he said it made her feel as though it wasn't just comfort, but a promise. She wondered if it was madness to believe such a thing. What if he was just another wanderer, spinning strange words because she had been foolish enough to part with her bread? Yet, no matter how hard she tried to dismiss him, her heart beat differently since that encounter. It was as if a seed had been dropped into the soil of her spirit, and even though she hadn't seen it sprout, she could already sense its roots spreading. Amara pushed herself to search for work again. She went to the main market, where the smell of fried akara and fresh peppers filled the air. Traders shouted prices, money clinked in hands, and everywhere there was movement and color. She approached stall after stall, offering her strength, her time, her patience. Some shook their heads without looking at her. Others waved her off as though she were a fly disturbing their business. But one woman, older and kind-eyed, finally paused to listen. "What can you do?" the woman asked. "I can sweep, wash, carry loads, anything you need," Amara replied, her voice steady even though her body was trembling. The woman studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Come tomorrow morning. I'll need help arranging my goods before the market begins." Relief washed over Amara like cool water on a hot day. She thanked the woman over and over, her eyes shining with gratitude. It was a small chance, But it was something, and to her, it meant life. She walked away, clutching that promise of work like treasure. As evening fell, she returned home with no food, but her heart carried hope. She sat on her stool and spoke aloud to herself, her voice soft in the silence. "Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow I will eat." She repeated the words until they became a lullaby to calm her empty stomach. When sleep came, it was different from the restless dreams of the nights before. This time, she found herself standing in a wide, open place where the air glowed faintly, neither day nor night, but filled with a golden light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. She looked around in awe, her bare feet sinking into soft earth. And then she saw him. The stranger. But now, he was not dusty. His clothes shimmered faintly, though they were simple, and his face was no longer lined with fatigue. He stood tall, his eyes bright, carrying the same calm that had unsettled her before, but now it radiated with something stronger, something that made her heart tremble. "Amara," he said, and his voice carried through the space as though the earth itself was speaking her name. She stepped closer, her throat tight. "Who are you? Tell me the truth this time." He looked at her, his smile gentle, and for a moment, she thought he might not answer. But then he spoke slowly, each word heavy with meaning. "I am sent," he said. "I walk in places where hearts are tested. I sit where kindness is weighed. I came to see what you would do with the little you had. You gave without holding back. And because of that, your story will not remain the same." Amara's knees weakened. She sank to the ground, her eyes wide. "An angel," she whispered, the word falling from her lips before she even thought of it. He nodded once. "Yes. But do not fear me. Fear instead the weight of your own heart, for it carries more power than you know." Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to ask what awaited her, what all this meant, but before she could form the words, the ground beneath her began to glow brighter. The light swelled, and the figure of the angel grew hazy, as though he was fading into the brightness. His voice reached her one last time, firm yet gentle. "Rise, Amara. Tomorrow, your path will begin to change. Remember this, kindness is never wasted. It returns, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing." The glow engulfed her completely. She gasped and woke up in her tiny room, her heart racing, her skin damp with sweat. The night was quiet, the air still, but she knew what she had seen was not an ordinary dream. It had been too real, too sharp, too full of power to be dismissed. She sat up, holding her chest, whispering to herself again and again, "I saw him. I saw him." Dawn crept into the city, painting the sky pale. Amara rose with trembling hands but a steady spirit. She wrapped her headscarf, lifted her tired body, and stepped out of her door. Today, she was not just a woman searching for survival. She was a woman walking toward a promise she could not yet understand. And somewhere, though she could not see him, she felt the angel watching, waiting, guiding her steps into a future that was no longer ordinary. Morning broke fully over the city, and Amara made her way to the market with determination she had not felt in months. Her stomach was still hollow, her body still weak, but her spirit carried a flame that hunger could not put out. The memory of the angel's words wrapped around her like a cloak, "Kindness is never wasted." The market was already alive with color and sound. Women unwrapped heaps of peppers, onions, and tomatoes from woven baskets. Men pushed carts, shouting for people to move aside. The air carried the scent of frying oil, fresh fish, and ripening fruit. Amara spotted the woman who had promised her work the day before. She hurried forward, her heart beating fast, afraid the woman might have changed her mind. "You came early," the woman said, smiling faintly. "Good. Let's begin." Amara's heart leapt with relief. She set to work immediately, arranging tomatoes into neat pyramids, stacking peppers in small bowls, sweeping the ground clear of leaves and dirt. Her hands moved quickly, her body remembering strength it had not used in weeks. For every task, she poured herself fully, determined not to waste the chance. The woman watched her for a while, nodding in approval. You work well, she said. Stay with me. I will pay you little by little, but you will not go hungry again. Amara bowed her head, gratitude rushing over her like a wave. She whispered, "Thank you." All through the day, she worked beside the woman, learning the rhythm of the market when buyers came in large numbers, how to call out prices without fear, how to smile even when bargaining was tough. She laughed for the first time in weeks when a child snatched a pepper and ran, and the woman chased after him with mock anger. For the first time in so long, Amara felt she belonged to life again. When the sun sank lower and the market thinned, the woman pressed a few naira into Amara's hand along with a small bag of yam slices. It wasn't much, but to Amara, it felt like wealth. She held it close as she walked home, her heart swelling with joy. That night, she cooked the yam carefully, savoring every bite. She whispered a prayer of thanks, not only to the woman but to the angel whose words had carried her here. She lay down with her belly full for the first time in days, and sleep came easy. But her rest was not ordinary. Again, she found herself in that strange, glowing space. The air hummed with silence, and the angel stood waiting. His presence filled her with both fear and comfort. "You have begun to see," he said. Amara nodded, though her voice shook. "I do not understand everything." "Why me? I am only a poor woman. There are many who are stronger, better, richer." He stepped closer, his eyes burning with calm fire. "It is never about riches, Amara. It is about the heart. A small seed of kindness in the right soil can grow taller than the strongest tree. You gave your last, and that last was more than gold." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I am still weak, still struggling. I do not see the change you speak of." The angel's voice softened. "Do not measure change by one day or two. What is planted takes time. You must walk forward, even when your hands seem empty. Ahead of you are doors that will open not because of strength or wealth, but because of the choice you made when no one was watching." Amara bowed her head, trembling. "Will I ever be free from this suffering?" He reached out his hand, though it did not touch her. Light flowed from him, warm and steady. "Yes. But freedom is not only bread on your table. It is peace in your soul, joy in your giving, and purpose in your path. Those are coming. You will see." The space around them shimmered. She wanted to ask more, but the light thickened, and once again, she was pulled back into her room. She woke with dawn creeping through the cracks in her wall. Her body was tired, but her spirit surged with new strength. She rose and prepared for another day at the market. This time, as she stepped outside, neighbors who once ignored her nodded in greeting. A child ran up to her and offered her a tiny flower, grinning before darting away. She blinked, surprised, feeling as though the world itself was slowly turning its face toward her. At the market, the woman welcomed her warmly. More customers came that day, and Amara found herself speaking with confidence she had never known. When one man tried to cheat them on prices, she stood firm, and the woman laughed proudly. "You have a sharp mind," the woman said. "Stay close to me. One day, you may have your own stall." The words sent a thrill through Amara. The thought of having her own stall, her own business, her own life beyond begging for scraps, it was almost too much to imagine. But deep inside, she remembered the angel's words, and she began to believe it might truly happen. As the day ended and she walked home, the city seemed different. The same streets, the same shops, the same noise, but to Amara, everything looked touched by promise. The sky above glowed faintly, and she thought she could almost feel unseen eyes watching her with approval. She pressed her hand to her heart and whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." The following weeks stretched into a rhythm Amara had never known before. Each morning, she rose before the sun, washed her face in cool water, wrapped her scarf neatly, and made her way to the market. Her hands found strength in arranging tomatoes, her voice learned how to call out prices, and her back toughened from long hours of lifting and bending. Each night, she returned home with tired bones but also with food to eat and coins tucked safely into her wrapper. Little by little, she felt herself changing. Hunger no longer gnawed her constantly. Her cheeks carried a faint glow again, and her eyes no longer looked hollow. When she passed neighbors on her way to the market, they began to greet her, some even stopping to ask how she was doing. Once, a child tugged at her hand and said, "Auntie Amara, you always smile now." That single sentence filled her with warmth that stayed long after. But beneath the simple joys of daily survival, something deeper stirred inside her. Each night, when the world grew silent and she closed her eyes, she would find herself back in that strange glowing space. The angel always waited. Sometimes he spoke, sometimes he only watched her with steady eyes that seemed to read her very soul. One night, she asked him, "Why do you come to me again and again? What do you want from me?" His voice was calm, steady, carrying power that shook her spirit. "I do not come because of what I want. I come because of who you are. You think of yourself as small, yet heaven has written your name among those who will carry light into dark places. I am here to remind you of that." Amara's voice trembled. "But I am just learning how to stand on my feet. I barely feed myself. What light can I carry?" The angel's eyes glowed softly. "A lamp does not argue with darkness. It only shines. And even a little flame can guide many." His words echoed inside her long after the vision ended. She woke each morning with a sense of weight and promise she couldn't explain. One afternoon, while helping the woman at the market, she noticed a young boy lingering near the stall. His clothes were torn, his face dirty, and he stared at the pile of oranges with a hunger she knew too well. Without thinking twice, she took one orange and placed it in his hand. The boy's eyes widened, and he whispered a quick thank you before running off. The woman chuckled softly. "You remind me of myself when I was younger. Always giving, even when I had little. That heart will carry you far, Amara." That night, Amara dreamt again, but this time, the glowing space was larger, brighter. The angel stood in the center, and around him were shapes she could not fully see, shadows of people waiting, reaching. "You see them?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. "They are the ones your life will touch. They are waiting, though you do not yet know how. Every small act of kindness is a stone laid on the path toward them. Do not despise your small beginnings, Amara. Do not look down on your small room, your small pay, your small bread. For through these, a river will one day flow." Tears streamed down her face. "I feel afraid. What if I fail? What if I am not enough?" The angel's voice thundered gently. "Do you think you walk alone? The one who sent me watches you closely. And when you feel weak, strength will rise in you. Trust, Amara. Just trust." When she woke, she sat upright for a long time, the night air pressing around her. For the first time, she didn't feel like a forgotten woman in a broken room. She felt like a vessel carrying something unseen. The next day at the market, she found herself working with unusual joy. She laughed with customers, teased children, and even helped a struggling old man carry his basket across the crowded street. The woman she worked with shook her head in wonder. "You are more than a helper, Amara. You are a light here. People are drawn to you." Amara's chest tightened. She remembered the angel's words. "A lamp does not argue with darkness. It only shines." Weeks turned into months. Her coins grew into savings, her meals grew steady, her body grew strong. One evening, the woman pulled her aside. "You have proven yourself. Take this stall tomorrow. Run it as your own. I will guide you, but the profit will be yours." Amara's eyes filled with tears. She fell to her knees, clutching the woman's hands. "Why are you so good to me?" The woman smiled. "Because once, someone was good to me too. And I see in you the strength to carry this gift further." That night, Amara knelt in her tiny room, whispering prayers of gratitude until her voice broke. And when she drifted into sleep, the angel appeared again, his face glowing brighter than ever. "You see," he said softly, "the seed you planted that night with bread has grown roots. This is only the first fruit. Greater branches are yet to come." Amara closed her eyes in the dream, letting tears stream down her cheeks. For the first time, she believed without doubt, her life was no longer ordinary. And though she could not yet see how, she knew destiny was drawing her into something far beyond a single stall in the market. Something bigger than her hunger, bigger than her fear, bigger even than her own dreams. The days that followed carried a rhythm that Amara had begun to understand, yet each morning still arrived with a quiet thrill. She woke early, washed her face with the cool water in her small basin, tied her scarf firmly, and stepped into the world with a heart full of purpose she could not fully name. Her stall, though modest, had become her kingdom. She arranged vegetables, fruits, and grains with care, sometimes stopping to watch how the sunlight caught the curve of an orange or the shine of a fresh tomato. Each detail mattered, and slowly, she discovered that noticing small things brought joy she had never imagined. Her customers came and went, each bringing stories, complaints, laughter, and bargains. Amara learned to listen as much as she sold, and in those small interactions, she found connection. A young mother shared tips about boiling yam perfectly. An old man told her about the days when the market had been crowded with traders from faraway villages. Children ran past her stall laughing, and she often handed them a sweet mango or a piece of bread, sometimes simply to see their eyes light up with delight. Every evening, after the market closed, she returned home tired but exhilarated. Her room was still small, still quiet, but the emptiness had shifted. It no longer felt like a prison. Instead, it was a space that belonged to her, a place where she could breathe, reflect, and dream. One night, as she laid down, she felt the familiar pull into the glowing space of her visions. The angel was waiting, as always, but this time he did not speak immediately. He walked slowly around her, his presence stretching wider than the room itself. The light surrounding him seemed to grow brighter with each step, filling the space with warmth and clarity. "You have done well," he said finally, his voice calm yet deep, echoing softly in the air around her. "You have begun to carry what I promised. But now comes the next step." Amara's heart skipped a beat. "Next step," she whispered, feeling both fear and anticipation. "Yes," he said. "Kindness is not the end. It is the doorway. Beyond it lies the path you were meant to walk. There are those who will test you, who will ask for more than you think you can give. There are moments when the light in you will be dimmed by doubt, by hunger, by sorrow. But you must continue. Never hesitate when your heart tells you what is right." Tears formed in Amara's eyes. I do not know if I am strong enough." The angel smiled softly, his gaze gentle yet unyielding. "Strength is not measured by the ease of the journey. It is measured by persistence, by willingness to rise each day despite fear and fatigue. You have already shown it. That is why you are ready." Amara shivered. "What will I face?" "You will meet people who seem lost, whose hearts are heavy, whose hands tremble for hope. You will give, and at times it may feel as though your giving is forgotten. But remember, the seeds you plant are never wasted. They grow quietly, invisibly, and in time, they will bear fruit beyond imagining." The angel stepped closer, and his eyes met hers. "Soon, someone will come to you, someone who will change the rhythm of your days. You must recognize them, for your life will not only be for yourself. It will extend to others, in ways you cannot yet see." Amara's breath caught. "Someone? Who is it?" The angel did not answer directly. Instead, he lifted his hand, and the space around them shimmered, showing flashes of a city crowded with faces, some kind, some weary, some lost. Among them, a figure approached slowly, a young boy with the same hunger in his eyes she had once known. The vision shifted, showing a woman carrying her baby, sitting near the road, her clothes torn, her lips trembling. Then another scene, a man, his back bent with work, struggling to lift his cart, yet smiling because someone helped him. "These are the ones," the angel said. "You will touch lives like these. And they will touch yours in return. But the first touch begins with courage, humility, and faith in your heart." Amara swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing on her shoulders. I I will try, she whispered, though the words felt tiny against the immensity of what he spoke. You will do more than try, the angel said. You will act. And when doubt whispers, remember that the light inside you does not come from what you have, but from what you choose to give. The vision began to fade, the glow dimming until Amara woke in her small room once again. Her body was tired from the day, yet her soul felt alive in a way she had never known. She lay still for a long time, the angel's words echoing in her mind, shaping her thoughts and dreams. The next morning, as she prepared for another day at the market, she felt a shift in the city itself. People moved with urgency, children laughed with more energy, the smells of food and earth seemed brighter somehow. She walked to her stall, her hands steady, her heart awake. And as she arranged her goods, she noticed a boy standing at the edge of the market, staring at the stalls with wide eyes. Hunger and caution etched into his face. Amara approached slowly, kneeling so she was eye level with him. Would you like some fruit? She asked gently, offering a small orange from her pile. The boy hesitated, then took it, his eyes brightening. Thank you, he whispered. You're welcome, Amara replied softly. She smiled, her chest tightening with warmth she could not explain. This was the moment she had been preparing for, though she didn't yet understand why. As the boy ran off with the orange, Amara realized something extraordinary. Every act of kindness she had given, every struggle she had endured, every sleepless night spent dreaming of a better life, had been leading her here. Her life was no longer hers alone. She was part of a larger story, one that connected her heart to countless others, in ways she could not yet see but could now feel. And though the city stretched endlessly around her, filled with noise, heat, and chaos, Amara understood that within its streets, she had found her purpose. The angel had not only guided her but had prepared her for the ripple of change she would carry into the world. That night, she lay down again, and though she did not see the angel immediately, she felt his presence, a quiet assurance that she was ready. She closed her eyes, letting the fatigue of the day fade, but keeping alive the fire within her, the flame that had begun with one small act of giving, one piece of bread shared with a stranger, and now burned brighter than she had ever imagined. And somewhere, unseen but close, the angel waited, ready to guide the next step of Amara's journey, a journey that was about to grow far larger, far deeper, and far more wondrous than she could yet imagine. Morning broke slowly over the city, the streets glinting with early sunlight and the sounds of merchants setting up their stalls. Amara rose from her bed, her body aching in places she had not known existed, but her heart was full. The fire the angel had stirred within her burned steady now, no longer flickering with uncertainty but glowing with purpose. Today, she would not simply work at the market, she would begin to see the wider path the angel had spoken of. As she stepped outside, the air was thick with the smells of frying plantain, fresh bread, and morning dew. Children laughed as they ran to school, women balanced baskets on their heads, and men called out prices with practiced energy. It was the same city she had always known, yet everything looked different. Every face seemed to carry a story, every gesture a rhythm she could follow. And somewhere deep inside, she felt that invisible thread connecting all of them and herself to something far greater. At her stall, she arranged the fruits and vegetables with care, noting the shine of a tomato, the curve of a ripe orange, the softness of a fresh yam. She worked efficiently, but her mind wandered to the people she had helped recently, the boy with the orange, the old man she had carried to the bus, the mother with her baby she had given a small bag of yams to. Each encounter reminded her of the angel's words, every small act of kindness is a stone laid on the path toward others. Midday came, and a figure approached her stall. At first, she thought it was another customer, yet there was something different about him. His clothes were simple but clean, his eyes sharp yet wary. He carried a small bundle under his arm and watched her silently. "Good afternoon," Amara said softly, smiling. "Would you like something?" He hesitated, then said, I was told you might help me." Amara tilted her head, sensing the fear and hope tangled in his voice. "Tell me your story," she said. The boy's lips quivered, and slowly he began. He spoke of days spent wandering the streets, searching for food, avoiding trouble, and sleeping under doorways when no one noticed him. He told her about the hunger that gnawed at his ribs, the shame that settled in his chest, and the small spark of hope that kept him moving forward. Amara listened, her heart tightening. She handed him water and a small bag of fruit. "You are not alone," she said gently. "Here, take this. You will eat today, and tomorrow, we will figure out the next step." The boy's eyes widened. Why are you helping me? I don't even know you." Amara smiled, her hands trembling slightly. "Because once, someone helped me too. And now it is my turn to pass it on." As he ate, she realized that her life had transformed beyond anything she had imagined. The market stall, the coins, the small meals, they were not just survival. They were instruments, ways to carry the light she had been entrusted with. Each act of giving, no matter how small, was weaving threads into the city itself, connecting hearts in ways she could barely understand. Evening came, and she returned home, her body tired but her spirit soaring. She cooked the little food she had, savoring each bite, yet her mind remained alert, listening for the whisper of the angel. That night, the familiar pull came again. She found herself in the glowing space, the angel standing tall and serene, the air around him shimmering like liquid gold. "You see now," he said, "the seed has grown beyond your hands. It reaches into the world, into lives you could never have imagined touching. This is the power of the heart, Amara, the power of giving when it seems you have nothing left." Amara knelt, tears streaming down her face. "I see, but it is so much. I feel so small sometimes." The angel smiled. "Size is never measured by the world, only by courage. You have more courage than many who walk through life with gold in their hands. And now, your courage will carry others. Your life will not be simple from here, but it will be full, and full in ways you cannot yet grasp." The vision shifted. She saw the boy she had fed, now standing taller, a small spark of confidence in his eyes. She saw other figures, young and old, each touched by acts of kindness she had offered, each taking small steps toward hope. She saw herself moving among them, guiding, teaching, sharing, laughing, and crying, her life no longer solitary, no longer just about survival. "You are the bridge," the angel said. "Through your heart, others will find light. Through your hands, others will find help. Through your spirit, others will find courage. And one day, all of these lives, touched by your giving, will return to you in ways you cannot yet imagine." Amara woke in her small room, her heart pounding with awe and determination. She sat quietly for a long time, absorbing the weight and beauty of what she had seen. She understood now that life was not about wealth or comfort, it was about the ripples one could create in the lives of others. The following weeks were a whirlwind. The boy she had helped became a constant presence, learning to carry baskets, to help at her stall, to navigate the city safely. Other people came lost, hungry, or alone, and Amara found ways to help them, little by little. Each act strengthened her, each act confirmed the angel's message. One morning, as the city hummed with life, she received a letter tucked under a stone by her doorway. It was simple, yet the handwriting made her heart leap. It read, "Your kindness has been noticed. Continue to give. You are not alone." Amara held the paper close and smiled, feeling the invisible threads of connection stretching wide. She understood finally. The angel had not only guided her, he had prepared her to become a beacon. Her small life, once filled with hunger and fear, had grown into something larger than she could have dreamed, a life that mattered, a life that shone. And as the sun set that evening, painting the city in gold and shadow, she stood outside her tiny room and whispered into the wind, "I will keep giving. I will keep walking the path, even when it is hard. I will not forget the last bread I shared, for it led me here." Somewhere above, unseen, the angel watched, a quiet smile on his face. He had come disguised as a stranger, but the work he had begun in Amara would continue long after he vanished. Because kindness, once sown, grows endlessly, carrying light into the darkest corners of the world. Amara's journey had begun with a single act, and now it stretched before her like an endless horizon, full of promise, full of challenge, full of love. And she was ready. Her heart was wide, her hands steady, her spirit unbroken, and the city would never be the same again because of the ripple of one small, selfless gesture. Her story, once a tale of hunger and survival, had become a story of hope, courage, and the unshakable truth that giving even when you have nothing can change everything. And that's how one small act of kindness changed Amara's life forever. Remember, even the tiniest gesture can create ripples that touch countless hearts. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more incredible tales. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us the country you're watching from and what time it is there right now. Your story could be part of our next journey.